Hello, everyone. I'm James from the BDA Scotland, and welcome to our BDA Scotland live stream tonight. Now, tonight's edition of Let's Talk About is going to be a UK general election. So, the election that takes place in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland on Thursday, the 4th of July this year. There's already people chapping on doors, canvassing for support. There's been debates already on our national TV, and this will continue until just before election day. So, tonight, we are really delighted to have representatives of the Electoral Commission here who will explain the process in regards voting. And right up on our screen, I would like to invite Catherine. Hello, Catherine.
Hi there. Good evening, James.
So, Catherine, if you would like to introduce yourself, your full name, and tell us a wee bit about yourself.
Of course. So I'm Catherine Heggie. Lovely to be on the live stream tonight. Thank you to BDA Scotland for organising. So I work for the Electoral Commission and I am the Senior Officer for Communications. So I work on things like our public awareness campaigns. So you might see TV ads or other adverts out and about over the next few weeks with information to help you get ready to vote. So I work on that and generally help people prepare to vote so that they feel confident when they go to vote.
Thank you so much for that. Thank you, Catherine. I would also like to introduce and invite Mark to join us on a screen.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Mark. Mark, could you do the same as Catherine and tell us your name and a wee bit about yourself?
Okay, my name is Mark Adam. I'm the Electoral Registration Officer for the Grampian area, and I'm based in Aberdeen.
Thank you. And thank you very much for both agreeing to participate in tonight's live stream. Now, how the live stream is going to work tonight is we're going to talk about what's the procedure for voting, how do you vote, who can vote. We have a list of questions for our viewers at home, and hopefully we'll be able to answer all their questions. Now, for our viewers at home, if you're there at home and you're thinking, oh, I've got a question, or you want to maybe give a comment or something, please do so in the usual way, and we'll try our best to get them answered if time allows. Okay, then. So, I'd like to ask both of you, can you tell us what is the Electoral Commission? What is it, and what's its role in particular with reference to the UK general election coming up?
Of course. So the Electoral Commission is an organisation that works across the UK, essentially to oversee elections. So we don't actually run the elections ourselves. That is the responsibility of your local council, but we work to support them and we work to make sure voters have the information they need ahead of polling day. We also have other roles that relate to what political parties, candidates can spend as well in the lead up to elections. So we make sure that they follow the political spending rules. So that's a bit about us. And then Mark might want to tell you a bit about the electoral registration officers, which are separate to the Electoral Commission.
Thank you so much for that, Catherine. That was fantastic. So, Mark, could I ask you what Catherine had mentioned? Can you tell us about the role of a registration officer and what they do?
Okay, the Electoral Registration Officer is the person who compiles and maintains the Register of Electors. And this is a list of every person who is registered to vote in elections. Electoral registration officers also maintain a list of absent voters, and these are the people who have requested to vote by post or by proxy. At an election, the electoral registration officer provides the registers and the list of absent voters to the returning officer so they can issue the poll cards, post the vote packs, and run the elections at the polling stations.
Thank you. Wow, that's fantastic. You've covered some of my questions, so that's fantastic. So thank you so much for that, both to Catherine and Mark. So, as I said tonight, we're going to talk about how the Electoral Commission and yourself, Mark, how we get to vote in the UK election. So, so the question would be is, who can actually vote in this UK election? Thank
Mhm.
you.
Yeah, I can take that one. So to vote in this election, you need to be 18 or over on polling day. So that's 4th of July. And you also need to be a British, Irish, or qualifying Commonwealth citizen. So that basically means a Commonwealth citizen who has the right to be resident in the UK. So it's different to who's eligible to vote in Scottish Parliament and Scottish Council elections.
Thank you. So we've covered who can vote, but if you, for example, you've moved to this country, how long do you have to be resident before you're allowed to vote?
So it comes down really to your residency and your your kind of citizenship. So you would need to be a British, Irish, or qualifying Commonwealth citizen in order to be registered. So it really comes down to that. Um, I would say, and maybe Mark will want to come in, but I think if you've got doubts or questions about registering to vote, the best thing to do would be to get in touch with your local electoral registration office, because it may be the case that you can vote in some elections and not others. But the best thing to do is to be on the register.
Thank you. Great advice. So our next question, and this is talking about registering to vote. So say, for example, I was already registered to vote in the last Scottish elections, or the council elections in 2022. I've already done that, and now we've got the UK election in 2024. My details, my name, address are all the same. Is there anything I should be doing?
You want to take that one, Mark?
Sure. As Catherine mentioned earlier, voting in Scottish and council elections in Scotland, you're not necessarily entitled to vote in UK elections. Catherine mentioned the criteria that needed to apply before you could vote in a UK general election. But, as Catherine mentioned earlier, if you're in any doubt about whether you can, you should contact your local electoral registration office and they'll give you the necessary advice.
Thank you. So say, for example, I voted before. Oh, we'll just get a wee... Oh, right. So, and I've moved home. What do I do then? Because my details have changed.
Okay, I'll pick that one up. If you've moved house and you haven't already re-registered as an elector at your new address, you should ideally go online and register to vote, we can provide the links for that. If you don't want to register online, you could use a paper form. That's also available from your local electoral registration office or at the government website. Paper forms can be posted or hand delivered to your electoral registration office, or you could scan them and send them to the office by email.
Thank you. So, for anybody watching at home, this is the website that you go to register to vote. Okay, what's the deadline for actually registering to vote?
The deadline for registering to vote at this election on 4th of July is midnight on Tuesday, the 18th of June. So all applications must be received by the electoral registration office by that time.
Great. So that's only really next week. So we've just got a week. So for anybody looking at home, this is the time for you to check or register yourself. So, say for example, is it only the one choice of having to go face to face and place your vote? Or is there other options?
No, so you've got two other options as well as voting in person. So you can apply to vote by post, where your ballot paper will be sent out to you, or you can also apply to vote by proxy. So what that means is you choose somebody that you trust to go to the polling place and vote on your behalf. So there are options there. You would need to apply if you want to vote by post or by proxy. And similar to the registration process, you can do that online for this election, or you can contact your electoral registration office, who can send you out the forms to get that organised.
That's great. Could we talk about the postal vote? So how does that work?
Yeah, in terms of sort of how it actually comes through to you in the post and how you complete it.
What I mean is, yes, and in some way, what I'm looking for is if you get your postal vote, what do? You'll register for it and then it comes to the house. Do you post it in a post box or do you go to the office like that?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, once you've applied and that's all been approved, up before the election, your postal vote pack will come through to you in the post. And the advice we would have is to mark your ballot paper and get that posted off in a post box really as quickly as possible to make sure that it can be included alongside the other votes. Um, so yeah, make sure that you follow the instructions that are provided along with that. Get that sent off in plenty of time. If it comes to it on the day and you've not got round to posting it, there is the option to hand it in to a polling place or also to the council offices in your area.
Oh, that's great advice. So maybe I want to, have a postal vote. So how is it I go about registering for that? How do I inform you that that's what I want?
Mhm. So similar to registering, you'd need to make an application and you can do that either online on gov.uk or you can get in touch with your local electoral registration office, who can send the forms out to you. So if you're in the Grampian area, that would come through to Mark, but there's the other electoral registration officers across Scotland. So yeah, you can request a form from them and they can get that out to you. But the quickest way would be going online at the link that you see on screen.
Great. So once I've actually if I want to register to do that, when's the deadline?
Yeah, you've got that on screen there as well. So Wednesday the 19th at 5 o'clock. So not long to go for that one. So really encourage you to get organised as quickly as possible.
Great. So as Catherine was saying, it's only next week. So if you want to have a postal vote, get online quickly. If you can't go online, go to your local office. Now, you'd mentioned as well about the proxy vote. Can you tell us a wee bit more, and again, the same way, how you'd about registering for that and what happens?
Yeah, of course. So yeah, this is another option that is available, but you need to get an application in if you want to vote in this way. So essentially, you choose a person that you trust. So it could be a friend, a family member, a neighbor, somebody that you feel trust in, and they will then go to your polling place and cast your vote on your behalf. So obviously you would need to tell them how you would like them to vote on your behalf. So similar to with applying for a postal vote, you need to get your application in, and you can do that online on gov.uk, or you can complete a paper application form. So fairly straightforward, but again, the deadline is coming up for that the week after next.
So everybody out there, you've only got 2 weeks. So the proxy vote, as you said, it's like you would get someone to vote on your behalf. Is there any reasons you have to give to have a proxy vote, or what are the reasons that other people may have for a proxy vote?
Yeah, Mark, do you want to explain the different options there?
Sure. Yeah. If you only want to exercise your vote by proxy at this election, then you can do that. If you want it on a more long-term basis, there are a lot of various different reasons that you have to provide to do that. It's a long list, so I would recommend, if you are looking to vote by proxy, you visit the government website and read all the information that's there.
That's great. Could you give us a couple of examples? I mean, obviously not all of them, but a couple of examples of what people may give for having a long-term proxy?
Yep. If someone is disabled, they can do that. If they actually live overseas, they can appoint a proxy to do that for them. I don't know, Catherine, do you want to run through a list?
Yeah, hopefully that's helpful. I think probably the most, well, I don't know, maybe I'm just making assumptions, but I think the reasons of disability is quite a common one, isn't it? That people will need one for.
That's great. But say, for example, maybe older people in a care home, would that be, they're cognitively enough that they can vote and they know what they're doing, but they actually physically can't get there?
Yeah, so I think that would come under reasons of being disabled and being unable to actually get to the polling place.
Lovely. Thank you so much. Thank you for that. So if we then jump ahead to it's the 4th of July, it's election day, and as a deaf person, I arrive on the day at the polling station. What would I expect to happen as a BSL deaf person?
Hmm. Yeah, so I would say that each of the returning officers, so they are the people who have responsibility for running the election in the council area. It's usually the council chief executive, but not always. So they have overall responsibility for the running of polling places and also for the election count. So they have a duty to support voters essentially to be able to vote. So I would say if there is particular support that you would find useful, um, to enable you to vote, you can get in touch with your local council to request that. The decision of whether that is provided is for the returning officer ultimately, but we would encourage you to get in touch with them. So if you are a BSL user, you could make a request to the local council for an interpreter to be there. Whether or not they can provide that, as I say, it would be on a kind of individual basis. Um, Staff are there to support and will receive training from the council. So they'll receive training in things like checking your photo ID and that kind of thing, and directing you to complete your vote. But if there is something in particular that you need a bit of support with from staff, we'd really encourage you to get in touch with the council.
Thank you. Great advice. So I'm at the polling station and it says there I must bring voter ID. Now, what is this? This is new. Can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so you're right. This is a change that's come in. So this will be the first election where voters across Scotland will need to bring photo ID if they want to vote in person. So this is a change that was introduced by the UK government. In Scotland, it only applies to UK Parliament elections. So it doesn't apply to Scottish Parliament or Scottish Council elections. So what it means is that when you go to vote in a UK Parliament election, you'll need to bring photo ID if you want to vote in person. So there is a list of accepted ID that you can bring with you. Now that includes things like a passport, driving license, older person's bus pass, disabled person's bus pass, or Young Scot cards. But there are some others as well. There's also a blue badge and a few others as well. And important to note as well, you can use expired ID as long as the photo still looks like you. Um, and important as well to note that it needs to be the original document and not a photocopy or an image on your phone. It needs to be the original version. Um, and for anyone who doesn't have ID, they can apply for free voter ID. And I can tell you a bit more about that if that's helpful.
That's great, Catherine. What I would like before we do that, could I show our audience a slide of what the ID or what's acceptable for ID? We'll just have a wee look. Okay, great. So as you could see, you can bring your passport. And as Catherine has said, it can even be expired, but as long as you still look like the photograph, as your provisional license you can bring, because that's got your ID and it's a photograph there. And you only need one piece of photographic ID, and that's it. Great. So I'm going to go back to what you were talking about, Catherine. If you're in a situation where you don't have any ID, so how can you still exercise your right to vote? What do you do?
Yeah, so the option you've got there is to apply for a voter authority certificate. So this is a free form of photo ID that you can use to vote. So you can apply either online or through your local electoral registration office. Um, and in order to apply for this, you need to provide a few details and also a photograph. So you can take that yourself on a smartphone or sort of a photo booth. The requirements for the photo are similar to when you submit a photograph for your passport. And yeah, you can do that online, as I say, or by completing an application form. And if you have any questions about the process, you can get in touch with your local electoral registration office. Once you've applied, your electoral registration office will post it out to you, and it is a kind of A4 paper certificate that you would then take with you on the day to vote.
Great. Is there a deadline to register for a voter authority registered certificate?
Yep, there is. So the deadline for that is 5 p.m. on Wednesday, 26th of June.
Thank you. So 2 weeks' time. So if you don't have ID, it's time you get this certificate and then you're able to go and vote. Great. So I'm going to have a look at the audience questions. We've already got questions coming in. There's 2 questions up on my screen at the moment. They're very popular. First question's from Stuart Parkinson, and his question is, does the Electoral Commission have any powers to ensure that the manifestos of the parties are translated into BSL?
Okay, good question. Thank you very much for that, Stuart. So we don't have power to ensure that the parties do that, but it is something that we monitor ahead of elections and we're looking at the moment. We do encourage parties to provide their manifestos in alternative formats, and also to make sure that those come out, at the same time as the English versions. But yeah, so it's something we definitely encourage, but we can't force them to do that.
Okay. Thank you, Stuart, for that question, and thank you, Catherine, for answering it. The other question I have up my screen is from Erin McCluskey. And her question is related to the postal vote. So she's asking, how long does the application procedure take for a postal vote?
Mark, do you want to take that one?
Sure. The actual application process online should only take you, a few minutes. But once that's submitted to the electoral registration officer, it could take, a few days for it to be processed and a response sent to you. It all depends on volumes and, how busy the electoral registration office is with dealing with other applications. But we always aim to get the application turned around and notified to the applicant as soon as possible.
Thank you for that, Mark. And thank you again to Stuart and Erin for great questions and some fabulous answers. Could I ask you both now, say for example, I wanted to contact the election registration office for sort of maybe help with, voting, or the council, as you mentioned, with going to vote on the day and you might need some support. Who do I contact and how do I contact?
Yeah, good question. So if you have questions about registering to vote, applying for a postal vote or a proxy vote, or for the free voter ID, you should go to your local electoral registration office. If you have questions about what to expect on polling day, if you want to request any specific assistance, you should contact your council. And you can find details for both of these on the Electoral Commission website that's on screen. If you just put your postcode in there, that'll bring up details for both of those contacts for you.
That's brilliant. Thank you. Thank you so much for giving us so much information and taking the time to go over the procedures. It's so helpful. Our audience at home would, if they want any more information about anything the topics that we spoke about, and also for people who are maybe living in England, Wales, and Northern Ireland, there is information there for you as well, so you can have a look. And again, for Scotland too, Scotland's BDA Facebook will also be producing some information for you at home. So you'll see that after this live stream, we'll post all of these links up for you to contact. And if anybody at home is struggling with that, please contact me directly. That's my email at the bottom of the screen, and that's for our Scottish residents. For our Scottish residents only. So you just contact me directly and I'll assist you. For people who live in England, Wales, or Northern Ireland, you contact BDA England, BDA Northern Ireland, or BDA Wales. Just contact them direct. They have their own Facebook page and they will also be posting information there too. So I really want to thank both of you, Catherine and Mark, for your time tonight, for your patience, and for explaining so much about the procedures in this forthcoming general election. Just want to say thank you, and I hope our audience at home has enjoyed the information as much as I have, and I hope you have a good evening. It's bye from all of us. Bye-bye. Bye.